Thank you, thank you. So yes, I'm Ali talking about the Filecoin virtual machine today. And actually we have one of the early builders here, Thomas, who is building on the Filecoin virtual machine, so knows a lot about the technicals as well. So for those of you that, we've had a lot of information today. So currently we all know Filecoin network as a storage and retrieval-centric network for storing our valuable data, over 17 exabytes or something crazy of data capacity, and thousands of awesome storage providers across the globe, some of whom also might be here in the room today. So we can think of this storage and retrieval functionality as being Filecoin's layer 0 architecture. And even with just this, we've achieved a lot, and we have so many things being built off this network, and we've heard some of those here in the room today. Filecoin Green, the social contributions that are happening at Filecoin Foundation for the Decentralised Web. All of this stuff has been made possible by the Filecoin network. But really, storage is just the start. We want to be able to do things with this data in our network, and this is the goal of the Filecoin virtual machine. So FVM is aiming to bring smart contract programmability to the Filecoin storage network and enable users to deploy their own smart contracts, or actors as they're called in the Filecoin ecosystem, on Filecoin. And this really introduces the ability to perform on-chain computation, or computation over data, which we can think of as bringing layer 1 capabilities to the Filecoin stack, which is super exciting. And as Molly said earlier, this is not something that any blockchain has attempted before. So once we have storage, the layer 0, and we add on-chain computation, the layer 1, then you're really enabling so many downstream use cases and applications to emerge both on and off chain, which is a layer 2. So before I get to some of the use cases that we're envisioning here, and there's so many more than we can possibly mention, I want to quickly dive into the technicals that are behind the FVM and how we're making this happen. So user-defined smart contracts have always been part of the Filecoin development roadmap. The priority, though, has first been to develop the layer 0, this robust, secure, and permissionless decentralized storage network. That is Filecoin as we know it. So this is a map of the technical decisions made by the core team, and by the way, all of this is open and up on the GitHubs. So when architecturing the FVM, the team were initially inspired by the virtual machine hypervisor model and its ability to host multiple virtual runtimes over a common base layer. And for those of you that have done anything in cloud, you'd likely be familiar with this model. So the team was also inspired by the Erlang or OTP actor model, which is why we're calling them actors, and particularly the self-healing mechanisms, the location transparency, and the concurrency programming paradigm of the messaging model. So both of these models have influenced the long-term vision on how programming on blockchains, we think, will look in the future. So the current implementation of FVM is based on WASM, or WebAssembly, which is a low-level assembly-like language with a compact binary format. So it runs with near native performance. So many different languages can be compiled down to WebAssembly, which is another advantage, and it's become popular in the blockchain space because the WASM bytecode doesn't require any further compilation or transpilation to be executable, and it's really suitable for secure and content addressable code, therefore. So the FVM reference SDK is built on Rust, and this is because Rust ships with a really minimal runtime, so the size of the package that needs to be included in the WebAssembly binary stays small. But we do have early builders in our program that are building an assembly script SDK for the FVM reference, and also experimenting with a TinyGo SDK. And actually, Thomas and his team are building a high-level Rust SDK to make it easier for developers to use as well. So with the help of the Filecoin community, as I just mentioned, we're working on supporting next, EVM solidity and compatibility out of the box. And this is the current milestone that we're working on. So we are currently scoping and coding out EVM compatible FVM straight out of the box, which means you can bring all your tooling from the EVM ecosystem, Hardhat, OpenZeppelin, all your contracts, onto the FVM chain, and that will be available in Q4 of this year. So it's super important for us to meet developers in the ecosystem where they're at, and the EVM community has built up a mass of really useful tooling and applications and programs to help develop and test with. So we want to make sure that we are enabling that as well. If you're looking for more details on the implementation, though, check out the reference spec on the GitHub for more. I think that's just there at the bottom. Yep, awesome. So what's all this tech enabling, though, and why are we so excited about it? So as I mentioned a little earlier, there's so many opportunities for innovation on this layer 1 programmability. Kind of that it's going to get unveiled. So, and we know the Filecoin community is super creative, so we know there's not going to be any shortfall of ideas there. So the above map here illustrates some of the use cases that the FVM can enable and that we're personally really excited about. So these are things like data DAOs, the Dataverse, tokenized data sets, NFTs getting minted, exchanged and stored under one roof, so to speak, replication workers. So imagine anyone's able to write a new smart contract that makes new deals to maintain a specific level of replication of the data that you're putting onto the network. That means you don't have to distribute it to multiple data systems. That will happen automatically for you. Trustless reputation systems, and I'm going to double click on some of these. I don't know if they're still in the room, but anyway. Storage bounties and auction mechanisms, futures and derivatives on storage, so opening up DeFi even, or composing in a DeFi-like fashion. Conditional loans, time-locked retrieval, perpetual storage, and if you really think about it, some of these use cases are really hard, if not impossible. Thanks for turning up to your talk, Dragon, to build on centralized and cloud storage systems. And this is where Filecoin with the FVM is really going to thrive. Anyway, sorry, Dragon is also on the team and is going to help us out. But I'll just get through the use cases and you can, chime in where you want to. I'm just at the use cases and possibilities. So the big first use case I want to talk about is Dataverses and the data DAOs, right? Yeah, come on. All right.
Yeah, so I'm the technical program manager for Filecoin in general, and then I'm helping Ali and others build Filecoin virtual machine. Basically, this is the main focus of the year for us.
When he's here, anyway.
Yeah,
no, just
when
kidding.
he's here. Sorry, I was like, everybody wanted a piece of me outside. Sorry for that.
I'm kidding. No, he's amazing and doing a lot with our ecosystem and helping out early builders and building out the program as well. So anyway, let's get on to the first use case that we're excited about, Dataverse and data DAOs. So imagine kickstarting the data set economy by tokenizing data sets, right? So you could capture and represent the value of these data sets to society with tokens. So imagine if those tokens are then harvested and exchanged between peers. You could request computation services to be performed on that data, things like validation, transformation, feature detection and extraction, which leads into machine learning, which is particularly exciting for me, and analysis, and there's just as soon as you can do this, there's so many things you can do with this data and you own it and you can decide on the value, or the market can decide on the value as well. So when you chain all this together, you end up really augmenting the value of these data sets and, of course, bringing some business intelligence and value to them as well, possibly. And these open data sets, I think, as we were mentioning before, like climate data sets, being able to machine learn over that and, come up with new solutions for what's going on in some really complex problems. So anyway, you could deploy also self-governing entities on chain to steward and maintain and curate and preserve those data sets as well. And that will be particularly important for these open data sets and scientific data sets, and for data that's valuable to humanity in general. You could even start crowdfunding that. So you can see why we're excited about Dataverse and data DAOs here. Another strong use case is replication workers. Do you want to tell them about this one?
Yeah, I tried to understand it when I first read about it, but it's basically a way how you can automatically replicate workers on the net, and then you can automatically set them up for have easier use cases in terms of Filecoin, how it actually works. So you don't need to involve your client, any client, and then you go from there. But
if you're storing data on the network and you're asking a storage provider to do that, you'd have to ask multiple storage providers to replicate that n times, basically, to create that resilience. So this could, you could code up a smart contract or an actor that would do this for you. And this also you could also include a user-defined policy of rules for data then. So enabling specification of things like the region or the location, or the latency, which really brings up another important use case here, actually. Not that one. Maybe smarter storage markets. Anyway, so another important use case is you'll be able to basically run an actor across this system to pretend or to create storage deals, small storage deals, and in that way you can kind of get the reputation of those storage providers, which then you have a whole network with reputations, with latency, with the geography, with price, things like that. So then you can decide where you want to store it. You can make a user-defined policy for your data to do that as well. That's part of replication workers, I guess, and smarter storage systems. Anyway, it's also going to enable these L2 commitments. So it's going to, currently we have some tooling in the ecosystem, and that includes textile. Some people are making some experimental bridges to things like Polygon and to Near and a few others. But it's really hard to do these. So with L1 and with actors, we're going to be able to provide these L2 bridges as well. So it's going to make it a lot easier to do that. Do you have something to add? Or
No.
No? Okay, just no. Great. Take that as a thumbs up. So smarter storage markets as well. This is another use case we're excited about. It's adding richer functionality to storage markets. So auto-renewing of deals, which is what we really want, and ability to renew deals without repeating those data transfers, because at the moment this is a real pain point. If you try and renew a deal, you then have to re-upload that data. So you wouldn't have to repeat the data transfer if you can just auto-renew the deal with the same service providers, and according to that user policy you might have set out earlier. Also, self-repairing deals are available then. So if a node goes down, and this is, cloud is up to this point, if a node goes down or sectors fail to prove, providers can fetch a copy of the original deal from another provider, potentially with the mediation of that replication worker, and restore this data. There's also, retrying of deals. So clients can dispatch their deal data to a depot and maybe pay a small fee to the depot to ensure the satisfactory delivery of that data. So a lot of use cases around how we interact with data and making it really more up to you how you want to do that, and making it really easy to do as well. And another one of these smarter deals is time-locked retrieval. Potentially you don't want to allow that data to be retrieved by anyone for a certain amount of time. So you can make storage deals with data that can't be retrieved by anyone until that time elapses, or maybe a specific event triggers. So this could be a really cool use case as well in certain situations.
Yeah. When we define the use cases, we call this the time capsule. I just remember, yeah. I mean, way before when we talk about FVM, this is basically giving you ability to unlock when needed, and whoever has the keys. So it's defining.
I like that name.
Yeah.
Especially for kids or something
yeah, it's just giving you ability for future events to unlock something. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely lots of things you could do there. I like that name. I'm going to change it on the slides next. Anyway, so another exciting use case is decentralized verifiable computation. So because you're adding computation onto the Filecoin blockchain, I'm ready for a drink. You have both computation and storage under the same roof. And this is going to be one of the big strengths and differentiators of the Filecoin network. So being able to define computation to be applied to data, incentivizing its execution all the way through, and being able to certify that the result and output is verifiably correct. Link all that with the Dataverse and data DAOs and the tokenization of data sets, and you've got so much computation that's pushed to the edges and pushed to the providers that have the data, and with the incentivization and provability circuit inbuilt to verify results. So super exciting. What's the roadmap looking like? When is this going to be out? When can you build with it? So our roadmap at the moment is available to track across both our GitHub and the website. So that is our website up there. You can go and check that out. At the moment, what was super exciting is we just released V16, the skier update.
Yeah, so it's just live, I think, from last week, and it's basically what Molly told us, introducing WASM to Filecoin, and now we're on our way to M2, which is basically introducing programmability. So,
so by N2 we mean milestone 2. So
milestone 2.
M1, milestone 1.
And then we have this code name M2.1, which is unlocking FVM, or basically ability to add smart contracts from Solidity side to Filecoin. And then we have M2.2, which doesn't say here, but it's basically unlocking the programmability of native development of Filecoin.
Yeah, so kind of like I mentioned earlier, we want to enable these EVM-compatible FVM, as we're calling it, on the network first, which is milestone 2.1. And in parallel, we'll also be working on the infrastructure and tooling for the native version of FVM. So we have a lot of builders in our ecosystem doing so many amazing things and helping us with this. And if you are interested in being part of that ecosystem, or you know teams that are, on either deploying EVM use cases to FVM or on creating some of the native tooling or creating businesses around some of that, then there's heaps of ways to get involved. The first way, if you're just interested in general or curious, the first way is check out our FIP discussions, so our Filecoin improvement process discussions, and the other one is to engage with the FVM project repo as well, and you can follow along all the issues and discussions that are happening in there. One of the most exciting things I am happy about, though, is we've just opened applications for our early builders program. Like I mentioned, Thomas and a few others are part of our early builders program, building out the native rails of the native FVM. But we're opening up to people that want to deploy maybe Solidity contracts they already have, or programs or applications they already have, onto the Filecoin virtual machine. Just opened them today, so check that out on our website if you are interested in that, or let us know if you want to hear more about that, or you have teams that are interested in doing that. The other way that you can keep in touch is just follow the YouTube, and there's a few demos on there of what our early builders are doing as well. So assembly script SDK written by Zondax is up there, as well as there's a playground, an actor playground at the moment, so you can play around with how actors might work, and that's done by a community member called Jim Pick as well, and that's very useful if you're just trying to kind of learn a little bit as well. So we're excited to see what you'll build with the FVM. I think that's all I have for today.